And here I'm going to use a water erasable pen for marking because I find chalk way too messy to work with. And this stuff usually comes right out, even when you're working on it, so it's good stuff. Now I'm leaving a 2 centimeter sewing allowance, seam allowance, just because I'm going to be using a serger instead of a sewing machine. So it'll allow me to have a larger seam that I can tuck under. That way none of the, like, there will be no chance of the seam coming apart. So we have the bust lining fabric all finished now. And I got a ton of this stuff because I'm going to use it for other projects later on. But this is the entirety of the lining because the rest of the dress, the fabric is thick enough that it doesn't need a lining. So we're going to start on the top portion of the base on the front. And what I ended up doing was cutting it in half because if you remember, the one side was a little too small because the T-square got a little whopper-jawed. So I just decided to cut it in half, which means I'm going to double up the fabric before I pin and cut it. And that'll be a lot easier than retracing the whole pattern. So this fabric is going to be for the base. I'm going to do the front part, and it's going to be cut on the bias, which I've never really done before, but if you don't know what that is, that's the diagonal line in the weave of the fabric. It just lays differently than if you cut it on the normal grain lines. So yeah, I'm going to start on that right now. Alright, so I have the pattern pinned, and now I'm doing the same thing I did with the base lining, which is 2 centimeters of seam allowance. I might end up cutting it later, depending on how the bias ends up laying, but for now, it's going to be 2 centimeters. This pattern is done! So that's 2 pieces down. How many more do I have to go? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 more to cut. But that's okay, because now I have my process down. Alright, the front piece is finished. Woo! Yeah, it probably doesn't look like much right now. But I'm going to fit it on the form and then deal with the top, because the top is not really in the shape that it should be. But yay, 2 pieces down, 8 to go. So yesterday when I was working with the patterns, I wasn't able to do very much. I literally was working for about half an hour before my back started hurting and I got really tired. And that made me think of another answer to that question: what would it mean for you to win this? I guess this whole process has been really difficult to do at the moment because I've got some mystery illness that we're still trying to diagnose, and it makes me so tired, and I'm in a lot of pain sometimes, and I get tingling in my hands, and you know, all this stuff that I love to do, like sewing, it just becomes so difficult. But I guess for me to win, it would mean like that even through all of that, even through all the hardship and the, you know, the pain and not knowing what's going on or not knowing what the next day is going to bring, that even through all that, I managed to create something special, managed to create something that, you know, will do things. Maybe not as quickly or as well, or in the same manner that I used to, but that I'm not, you know, letting go of these dreams that I have just because I'm not 100% myself. So yeah, I know it's kind of a downer, but it would mean so much to me and help me kind of get through this if it could all, you know, be worth it. I mean, it's always worth it to sew, but especially now when it's so difficult for me to do it, it would mean the world.